So I'm here today at the Hocking Hills State Park in southeastern Ohio, and I'm here at Old Man's Cave, which is arguably the centerpiece of that area. And this is a spot that I used to photograph in a lot when I lived here in Ohio, and now that I live in Florida I don't get here too often, but yeah, it's great to be here. And I'm going to go down into this gorge and explore some of the places that I've photographed previously, maybe do a bit of a retrospective on some of my favorite images from this area, and see how it's changed from when I made some of those pictures years ago, and of course look for new ones and see maybe we can find some new images to make. So I'm excited to get going, and let's go explore Old Man's Cave. This is a really nice spot that always has, in the fall, some autumn leaves that fall in here and they're wet. And I got a nice one, I think, last fall when I was here. It's kind of interesting today with just that single leaf. That might actually make a nice image. Might have to work on that one. And now this is the Devil's Bathtub. It's another one that I worked on years ago. I actually got down on that ledge right there and shot over the edge. Pretty cool spot. A lot of nice abstract details to be had right here. The gorge is filled with small waterfalls, and there's actually some that are ephemeral and you only run if there's a lot of rain. But this gorge gets a lot of rain, and flooding comes through and has done a lot of damage over the years. In fact, they've had to construct some new and interesting bridge designs to keep the bridges from being washed away when it rains. And they've tried in some cases to sort of make them fit, the design kind of fit in with the gorge and make it interesting. Although sometimes those bridges can get in your pictures now. I'll talk more about that later. When I first started coming here, some of these stream crossings, they literally just had an old log across, and you just ran across a log. So this is the location of my image that I call Springtime Stream. And hopefully you can hear me over the sound of the rushing water. But I shot this image many years ago. It's a vertical, and it sort of follows this zigzag stream here. And it was made just about this time of year, and it's just beautiful, I think, colors with the red browns of the fall leaves and still the nice bright greens of the springtime foliage. And there was actually a little bit of a waterfall that shows in my image that I don't see today, and it was actually ice. It was so cold at that time, it was a little bit of a frozen waterfall, but you can't tell that in a still image. It sort of reads as a waterfall, so that's kind of nice. So today though, obviously there's a lot of debris in the stream here, and the image wouldn't be quite as pleasing. Also, there's a bridge they've built over the stream back here that was not there, or it's taller now than was there when I made this image. And so to me that sort of spoils the look of it a little bit, sort of seeing the hand of man, if you will, that structure takes away a little bit from the sort of the wilderness natural feel of this image. So it's one of those things, capture it while you can, because you never know how it's going to change. But it's still a beautiful spot, and it's really fun to revisit this old location. And it's just a beautiful day here in the Hocking Hills at Old Man's Cave. The image I made was made a little bit earlier in the morning. There was sun spilling into the image now, as you can see, but I made it a little bit earlier in the day when it was all just in the soft shadow of the morning light. So I hope you enjoy seeing that image and also seeing what it looks like today. I think it still is a promising location. If some of these maybe sort of deadfalls were out of there to kind of spoil the flow, I think if those were out of there, it could still be a really nice image today. So meanwhile, while I'm standing here looking at this old image, I found one just looking down at the river. And so I've photographed that just now, and I shot it with the 4x5, and hopefully that film will turn out. We'll have to see. But I exposed some Ektar as well as some Provia, and it's just a nice little river detail. And that kind of just jumped out at me while I was standing here revisiting this old location. So it's nice to see that as the water flow changes every different day or week, as there's more or less rain or water, those kind of river details can change how they look. And I think this one's really nice, so I'll be interested to see how the film comes out, and hopefully I'll have something to show from this location today. So here's the next location that I wanted to revisit today. I don't know if you can see here these two sort of sunlit trees that are growing up there under this cliff. And I made this picture back in 1988. It's the earliest landscape photograph that I show. And it's really special to me because my father was here with me. He helped carry my camera gear that day. And so it's a vertical, it's a black and white, and I really, really like this image. And unfortunately, there's several things about it now that have been spoiled. For one is, one of the trees broke off a few years after I made the picture. The ice built up on the tree during the one winter, and it snapped off. So where the trees were sort of nice and symmetrical and the same size, now one of them has broken off. And they've also built a sort of a stone fence barrier up here. And so again, you can sort of see the hand of man, sort of that physical structure that wasn't there when I made the picture. And so it sort of looks a little bit less wild and remote, but it's still a beautiful area, and it's fun to revisit this location as well here in the beautiful Hocking Hills of Old Man's Cave. And this is the Old Man's Cave. And I'll get a little bit closer to that in a second and take a look at that. Apparently some old settler actually lived under that overhang for some period of time. That's why they call it the Old Man's Cave. So it's a great spot, very popular, and it's a fun place to photograph. There's the spot where I set up my camera with my father. And I was able to take this two trees image. You can see that the one on the left is shorter than the one on the right. That's because it snapped off with an ice accumulation a bunch of years ago. Now there's a thing growing down from the top. on the left, which is kind of interesting. This is the spot, 1988. There's that stone walkway that they built, I guess, to keep the people from clambering all over this area. Probably a good thing, but it's a little more spoiled in my view than the way it was when I was able to make my picture. So I have found another subject here at my Two Trees location. Hope you can hear me over the rushing water. It's incorporating these logs that are leading down into the picture, and it has the trees up there like before and the overhang. And the brightness range is maybe just on the edge. I did expose Provia and some Ektar. And I also did a sheet of T-Max 400 in case I like it in black and white like my original. This is a really special spot, and it just goes to show you that you can still find new and interesting compositions even though certain things have changed about it. This one barely includes the rock wall, although it does have the sort of wire barrier that's up in there, so we'll have to see how that looks. But I'm eager to see how the film comes out, and hopefully I have a new image of this special place. Well, it was a great morning here at Old Man's Cave. I really enjoyed revisiting some old locations, and I hope you enjoyed this sort of retrospective look at some of my older work. And along the way I was able to make some new images, and hopefully the film will come out good on those, and it'll be fun to see that. Nice to make some fresh images from a place that I have been to so many times and loved so well over the years. So thank you for watching, and I hope to maybe do this kind of thing again in the future, visiting old locations and seeing how they look now and talking about them a little bit and showing some of my older work. So hopefully you enjoy that, and stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next video.